what makes Spider-Man so successful. Spider-Man Brand New Day is setting all kinds of records. It is a huge box office success, currently sitting at over 2 billion globally, and that's just right now. I'm sure it'll make far more, maybe even 2.5, maybe even 3 billion once all is said and done. And by all accounts, it's a fantastic movie, but I want to talk a little bit more about why Spider-Man specifically is so profitable. What makes Spider-Man so successful? Because other superheroes just don't make as much money. Superman, for example, that came out last year, 2025, only made $618 million globally. That's the full count for the big DC superhero, Superman. And the Batman, which came out earlier in 2022, only generated $772 million globally. Both of the top two DC characters, even if you combine them, didn't even make as much as one Spider-Man movie. But that's DC, it's Superman, it's Batman, it's different than Spider-Man. Spider-Man is Marvel, and Marvel is better. That's where all the money is. Well, it takes literally all the Avengers and all the Marvel characters, everyone who's ever been in any movie, to equal what Spider-Man does on his own. You've got Infinity War, which made $2 billion globally. And yes, Endgame, the final climax, made $2.8 billion once all was said and done. But that's every Avenger, every Marvel superhero teaming up in order to just equal what Spider-Man can do all on his own. Now, a lot of people like to play the blame game. Well, you gotta blame DC and Warner Brothers. They've messed this all up. They've rebooted and refranchised far too many times. Their superheroes suck. DC is the one to blame. Or other people like to point to Marvel and Sony and the behind the scenes politics of why the other Marvel heroes struggle, and then Sony's over here making Venom movies and doing Kraven, and that's bombing at the box office, or Madam Web. Sony's got all of its movies, and yet, when Sony and Marvel work together on Spider-Man, things just work out. Or other people like to blame Zack Snyder for this Snyderverse and the Justice League and how messy that all got with Wonder Woman and Aquaman and The Flash and Cyborg and Dark Superman, and he just ruined everything. Or if you're a Snyder bro, maybe you think he saved everything and they should have given him more of a chance. Instead, we got James Gunn, and people like to blame him an awful lot for DC's shortcomings as well. Oh, he's doing this wrong or that wrong, or he should have done something else better, whether it's Lanterns or Creature Commandos or whatever it is, they're going to blame James Gunn. But I think it comes down to something far more fundamental, and that is just Spider-Man, who he is on his own. Because when you actually look at it, Spider-Man is incredibly unique, even though he shouldn't be. But let's get into it. The first thing I'll say is the mask. His identity is 100% hidden. There's no cowl, there's no full face like you get with Superman. Spider-Man has a truly secret identity. You can't tell what race he is, what gender he is. He's just Spider-Man. You don't know who's under that mask. It could be anyone.
Just one Spider-Man. Or woman, we don't know.
You've also got this unique aspect of Spider-Man's age. Lately, he's been younger, but in the entire run of Spider-Man, he's anywhere between 15 to 30, which is kind of that perfect primary demographic to attract the widest audience possible. 15 to 30, I think anyone can relate. You've got little kids who are looking up to him, teenagers who maybe identify, or even adults who look fondly on their past, wanting to rejuvenate some of that youthful energy. If you look at a lot of sports, athletes tend to be in this age range. We just tend to prefer to watch people performing at their peak, which tends to be 15 to 30. You've also got Spider-Man's class. Depending on how he's portrayed, is usually lower middle class, often a student or a freelancer, but more likely than not, he's broke. He has no money, he has no means. He's not some uber wealthy billionaire. He's just some guy who can barely afford milk at the convenience store.
Could you pay me in advance?
But he's also got biology on his side, because yes, he's Spider-Man, but he's just a human. He's not an alien from Krypton. He's not a god like Thor. He's not a mutant or a monster. I mean, technically his DNA is mutated, but he just looks like a guy. There's nothing physically super mutated about him. And I think that as well makes him super relatable, because he feels like you or me. any one of us. And he also happens to live in the most famous city on planet Earth, probably, perhaps, at least in the United States. New York City is a real place that people can identify with, and it's also globally known. It's not Metropolis or Gotham City, these kind of make-believe, pretend, fictional places. No, this is a real place that people have been to, that they want to visit, that they want to see on the screen. And the problems that Peter faces are real and human. They're personal. He's often suffering or struggling, like a lot of us feel like we always are in our day-to-day life. He faces tragedy and grief. And I say these are Peter's problems because that's what these stories are about. Peter's problems, the real human problems. They're not about Spider-Man's problems. Yes, the plot will involve the Green Goblin or Dr. Octopus or the Sandman or Venom. They're always up to something. They're up to no good. But the core of these stories are the personal problems of a real human being. And the audience, who this is made for, is pretty much made for everyone when you look at it. These are stories for adults and teens, but they're still very appropriate for kids. Making these movies actually family-friendly, which is a term you don't hardly hear anymore. You have kids movies and you have adult movies, and there's very few movies that are actually fun for the whole family. And I think this is one of the smartest things that Marvel has done with Spider-Man, is that Spider-Man is relatable to a 5-year-old, a 15-year-old, and a 55-year-old. Other characters like Superman and Batman have gotten really dark and moody, and quite frankly, inappropriate for children.
Don't tell him nothing. Hashtag super shit.
You got a secret harem?
Thanks for watching him, bitch!
Now, I grew up in the 90s, so Batman and Superman, those were the cartoons I watched, along with Spider-Man and X-Men. We had lots of Saturday morning cartoons. But over the years, all of those have kind of faded away, except for Spider-Man. He's still relevant no matter how young or old you are, because there have been movies and TV shows that apply to everyone. These are movies that I can watch and enjoy, and my kids can watch and enjoy. Yes, maybe they're not for infants, but young kids go to see Spider-Man at the movies all the time. And so now we've reached a point where generations of people around the globe can all identify with the masked vigilante known as Spider-Man. And that's really why he has this universal appeal, because no matter who you are, no matter where you come from, you can relate to Spider-Man. That's why he single-handedly can generate $2 billion when everyone else struggles just to get to $1 billion. It's why 3 different generations of 3 different Spider-Men can all show up in the same movie, and it gets everyone excited. It's why we can have a whole Spider-Verse of all the Spider-Men and women and dinosaurs become the pinnacle of what's possible with animation.